What's happening? This is your girl Megan. Welcome back to the Hood Astro Queen. For those of you all who are returning to my channel, but if this is your first time joining me on today, go ahead, hit that subscribe button because you know you want to. And while you at it, make sure you hit that notification bell. That way you'll be alerted every time I post. And also, if you are interested in scheduling a birth chart reading, go ahead and hit me up at my email, astroworld, WERLD at gmail.com. And I'll be sure to include that email address in the description box below. So, as you guys might have noticed, social media has been in a complete state of disarray, y'all. I mean, chaos. Because as of this past weekend, it was basically brought to everybody's attention that the rapper 21 Savage, not only is this nigga not from Atlanta originally, he's from the UK of all places, and he was actually detained by ICE officials, and now they're in the process of trying to send him back, like deport him back to wherever he's from, like somewhere in Britain, allegedly. And so the story has it, you know, a lot of different sources are revealing that as a child, he came over to America with his parents and they were in the States on a work visa. And as a lot of people do who tend to be illegal immigrants, they just outstay their work visa. And granted, he was a minor during this time, so he ultimately had no control over it. So to hear that he's being, you know, or they're attempting to deport him, right, after he has established a whole life in America is very unfortunate. It's unjust. It's fucked up. Now the memes, those memes were funny as fuck. Like the ones where they were talking about like this nigga eating tea and crumpets. It just, I think it's just the whole concept of like, it just, the randomness of him being from Britain. And I know I'm not the biggest 21 Savage fan on the planet, but I don't recall him ever mentioning that he was like not from Atlanta. And I mean, of course we can have the conversation like, okay, well, he was raised in Atlanta after a certain age, so technically it does make him an Atlanta native. I'm not discrediting any of that. I'm just saying I don't remember. I actually watched the docu-series that he has with DJ Academics, and I think it's called like A Day in My Shoes or something like that. And basically on the first part of the series, he was taking Academics step by step through his childhood, like walking him through his childhood. And I mean, let y'all drop down in the comment section below, y'all. Let me know. Did you know that 21 Savage was like not originally from Atlanta, like not originally a U.S. citizen before this? I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so it's just the randomness of it all that kind of just has me personally like, what the fuck? Like, that's so weird. However, hopefully, I'm pretty sure he's going to be okay. It's just that with issues like these, they only get publicized and people only really pay attention to them on a universal level when they take place or when they're affecting a celebrity or somebody of high affluence. You know what I'm saying? So this is happening to people every day, you know, people who are second generation immigrants, and they're literally getting packed up and shipped the fuck off to like a land that they have no connection to outside of like their parents. So there's that. Now, I got a suggestion today to take a look at his chart, which I did just to see what was going on. And then I also took a look at some of his transits. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So Mr. 21 Savage was born on October 22nd, 1992. And what we now know to be the UK, okay? And this places his sun in the 29th degree of Libra. And that 29, like I always say, deals with upheavals. It's the crisis degree. And some people also call it the energetic degree. And the way that I look at it is it's the culmination of the energy of a particular sign. So whatever planet that's placed in a given sign, as it progresses through the sign, it gains momentum. It gains energy, wisdom, knowledge, experience, right? And when it reaches that 29th degree, it's literally at the cusp of the next sign. And it's almost like a fork in the road kind of vibe, to where there has to be a decision made, right? And it can manifest in poor decision making skills, especially in signs that are known to be very indecisive, like Libra, or even Gemini. And I mean, hence that third party situation, right? Situations to where you are second guessing yourself. Planets that are in the 29th degree are prone to sudden and dramatic reversals and crisis, It can produce a lot of very just uncomfortable situations. It's very much like a pressure cooker type of degree, and it's filled with a lot of karmic baggage, a lot of lessons, and it could definitely highlight a lot of the more unfavorable characteristics of whatever sign that it's sitting in. And in 21's case, this placement could absolutely be accredited for the issues that he's facing in regards to his citizenship or lack thereof, right? Because this Libra energy, especially at the 29th degree, can create somebody who is constantly battling the legal system in one way or another. And with your sun reflecting your identity, it's very common for a lot of people's professions or line of work to be reflected by way of whatever their sun placement is. So in 21 Savage's case, obviously he's an artist, he's a rapper, or however you want to label it. And that could very much be encapsulated with his Libra sun as well. However, that 29th degree can bring about even a loss of face, a loss of reputation and identity, or somebody who has to transform their identity. And this doesn't necessarily just have to be due to his legal situation currently, but from what I understand, he has kind of undergone a kind of transformation since he's come onto the music scene, period. Because I think initially he was more of like your typical trap rapper, and then over time he's evolved into like this kind of, I would say, a little bit more mature and refined kind of guy. He's definitely a humanitarian. He has a lot of, charities, and recently he's been coming out doing things to kind of give back to the community. And that can also be symbolized by his Libra sun as well. And his sun is actually conjoined to his, let me see, I think it's his Mercury, right? Yeah, it's conjoined to his, no, I'm sorry, it's conjoined to his Jupiter, excuse me. So it's a double dose of that Libra energy. So he could definitely be somebody who's very charitable, a humanitarian even. That Libra loves balance. It's all about equality. And some people actually refer to it as the sign of feminism, because it's very much like it wants to fight for what's just and fair, right? Those scales of justice. And speaking of feminism, I thought it was very interesting that 21 Savage dated Amber Rose, and she literally is the face of like the feminist movement of today. And if I'm not mistaken, she's a Libra sun as well. And I know a lot of y'all 21 Savage, like diehard fans, might not like me for this, but I can't help but notice that anytime you have Libra at the 29th degree, it can bring about somebody who goes out of their way to fit in. If I guess that's the best way to put it. And it's interesting because a lot of conversations that people have been having in lieu of discovering his, new place of origin is that how exactly true to this like quote unquote thug or gangster lifestyle has he really been living? Now, me personally, I don't question, like I'm pretty sure he's done all of the things he says he's done, and Which, side note, like, it's kind of sad that we like we look to, people like our rappers committing crimes to prove why we should listen to whatever. Anyway. But yeah, I do believe that he's lived a rather difficult life. And with this son at the 29th degree, it's very likely that he's had issues with his father, because a lot of people with their son in the 29th degree do have ongoing problems in regards to their dads. But I question whether it was a situation to where he was naturally just like born and bred in the gutter versus somebody who was naturally attracted to gutter life, to street life. Do y'all get what I'm saying? Because there's a difference. Not to say that he's just this different person or he's a bad person, but I think there is a distinct difference between somebody who was born, as just a product of their environment. This lifestyle is all that they know, and therefore they perpetuate it, versus somebody who wasn't maybe necessarily raised like that, but they sought after it. And he even admitted that his mom basically moved him to the suburbs of Atlanta to kind of disincentivize him, acting out and trying to be in the streets. Yet he just felt like he just had this calling on his life. Like, he always wanted to be a gangster. He always wanted to be a thug. And recently, like tonight, it actually was revealed that his father, his biological father, currently lives in Britain, and he's actually a celebrity doctor. Now, I'm not saying that this just means he can't be a deadbeat just because he's a celebrity doctor. But my point is, because like, it's almost like, once again, y'all, if y'all are some like diehard 21 Savage fans, correct me if I'm wrong, but he painted this picture like, you would think that his father was a crackhead who never really cared, and he grew up in the slums, and like, I don't know. And I'm no person who tries to minimize somebody else's, experience, their life experiences, because we all go through things that make us the way that we are today. So I am in no shape, form, or fashion saying that he hasn't gone through any type of struggle or whatever. But I am saying, especially with this placement here, there is a tendency to kind of assimilate to your friends and your, the people that you hang around. Libras are the charmers of the zodiac. They can be very manipulative for that reason. They can blend in almost any environment and kind of shape shift in a way to the point where it's like they take on the persona of the people that they're around to a degree, so that's just something to think about. And something that I noticed about 21's chart was that his sun is not aspecting any other planet. And when you have a planet that kind of stands alone like that in the person's chart, it creates an effect to where it's felt very intensely by that person. It's almost kind of like a runaway horse on a farm or something, to the point where it's like it runs rampant, like it's out of control. It's like a loose cannon, and it exposes the person to all of the harmful, the good, bad, and the downright just ugly inclinations of that particular planet in the sign that it's sitting in. And once again, with his sun being in that 29th degree, this kind of just ramps up some of those more negative Libra-like qualities. So somebody being very indecisive, very much prone towards, like I said, lots of legality battles and issues. And now that I'm looking at it, that his sun is in conjunction to his Jupiter. Jupiter is the natural ruler of the 9th house, which is long distance travels. Okay, so I mean, this could absolutely be attributed to the issues that he's facing now, issues in regards to his citizenship and him being able to stay in the country or whatever. So there's that. And then there's also an issue with women. He could definitely be somebody who has this type of karmic situation to where like he's attracting all of the wrong kinds of women. But in a way, he still has this need for relationships. And he does strike me as a very soft, like emotionally soft, not in a bad way type of guy. Like, despite all of his shoot 'em up, bang, bang kind of gangster image or persona, when he is in a relationship with a woman, and we definitely saw this with Amber Rose, he's absolutely a charmer. And this could definitely be accredited to his Libra sun. And that Libra sun in the 29th degree can also produce somebody who spends a lifetime undergoing a lot of transformative relationships with people. And this could be intimate relationships and interpersonal, relationships. So yes, these could be people who have very unstable love lives, who tend to pick the wrong women and have like lots of trial and error in their personal relationships, but people who can undergo major transformations in their friendships. And I think he openly speaks about having a friend who died in a shootout when he was younger. So very karmic relationships with people, to where you're having people distinctively enter your life and exit your life. You see what I'm saying? And it's all for a particular reason. And that Libra energy in general craves relationships. It's the natural ruler of the 7th house, So it could bring a lot of disharmonious experiences as it pertains to the people around you, your network of people, your circle. And then it also can produce lots of open adversaries, enemies. Now, another thing that I saw in his chart that could possibly explain the situations that's going on with him currently is that he has his his South Node in the sign of Gemini, which makes him a Sagittarius North Node. And his North Node is conjoined to his Venus, right, at the 3rd degree of Sagittarius. And this absolutely, Sagittarius in and of itself, like I said, is the natural ruler of the 9th house. It's governed by Jupiter, and it directly deals with long distance travels. This could deal with him being from a completely different country. But then also him being a Gemini South Node can point towards him being a writer, him being somebody in the media, entertainment industry even. And something that I kind of found to be peculiar when it comes to Gemini South nodes is that there usually tends to be this element of like a double identity, a split persona, because Gemini is symbolized by the twins, right? And that Sagittarius North Node represents freedom, even a freedom to live your truth. So, it just reinforces that energy that I personally feel, and just from looking at that, his sun in the 29th degree of Libra, to where it's like, I'm not going to say he's not who he say he is, because that sounds like harsh, and that may not be true. I don't think he's like not who he says he is, but I think that he's definitely playing up. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. Like, he's definitely playing up that whole like gangster image. He's gangster identity. But that's something that a lot of rappers do. I wouldn't be surprised. And with his Mars forming a semi-square to his Venus and his North Node, this could absolutely point towards him having to sacrifice having like a traditional like family life, in the sense of like him having to uproot or being uprooted from his homeland early in life. especially with his Venus forming a sextile to his Jupiter. So yeah, he was meant to achieve success in the United States. He definitely wouldn't have been able to be who he was in Britain, you know. That Venus and North Node sextiling his Jupiter points towards him making lots of friends in foreign lands, foreign cultures, forging a lot of meaningful relationships. Him even growing to be a teacher at some point. He has a very strong karmic responsibility to kind of adopt new philosophies on life and just kind of evolve spiritually and help lead the way for others. And I can see him doing that. I can absolutely see him doing that. Now, there are two transits being made in particular that really had my antennas buzzing, okay? And one of those placements being that Uranus is making an opposition to 21's sun. Uranus in and of itself brings about either liberty, like liberation, freedom, or it can restrict your freedom. It can restrict your liberation. And with that, his sun being in the 29th degree of Libra, this could absolutely create situations for him to where he's fighting, literally fighting for his freedom. This aspect can also deal with somebody who thinks that they've settled certain legal issues, that they think they've taken care of, you know, their obligations, but then things pop up later, right? Because that Uranus is very sudden, unexpected, and impromptu kind of happenings or deals. And I found that to be interesting because 21's attorney actually released a statement saying that he and his team attempted to request like a permanent citizenship or basically handle his visa situation back in 2017, okay? And that up until now, the government hadn't really done anything to move that process forward. So yeah, that's definitely interesting. And to be 100% honest with y'all, I think that there's more to this situation than what meets the eye. And once again, I am nobody's conspiracist, but I do feel like there is some sort of vested interest in certain people, you know, powers that be, whatever you want to call it, the government, whoever, yada, yada, to send, 21 Savage back to the UK. And I say this because his, Pluto is actually in opposition to his Mars. And this could deal with somebody, especially with his Mars being in Cancer, this could deal with a secret organization, right? Or people in authority, people in high places of power and affluence, conspiring to literally send this nigga back home. Like, to literally uproot him and just like ship him back the fuck off to wherever he's supposed to be from. So yeah, that's definitely something to think about as well. So yeah, I didn't want to get too in depth with his chart, but I thought that some of these, aspects were very, very telling as it pertains to his situation. So y'all drop down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of this reading. And make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And until next time, I holla.